Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my videos. Today I'm going to be ranking every bloodline skill level from 1 to 10. So I'm going to be going over the god bloodlines in this video, and I'm going to be throwing Bankai Inferno in just because it's a new bloodline and I don't really know what it goes into besides Dokai, even though it has the name of Dokai. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe. I'm always going right to the video, guys. Alright, so we start off Tengoku. Tengoku, in my opinion, is actually going to get a solid 7 out of 10. Now I feel like Tengoku needs a lot of skill to actually use properly because of all of the nerfs that Tengoku actually has. Ever since the C-Spec got nerfed to having literally half the damage it used to, it definitely takes a lot more skill than it used to. But I feel like the beam is probably like the most skillless part of the bloodline. The beam is very overpowered. People don't know that because they don't use the bloodline very much, but yes, the beam is overpowered. But the other two abilities take a lot of skill to actually properly use. The first ability right here, you have to be close to them, you have to combo with it, and the second ability has a ton of end lag to it, so you have to use it properly to get the maximal benefit out of it. So overall, Tengoku is a very skill required bloodline, but the beam is very skillless if that's what you want to use. Alright, so Rengoku is going to be getting a 9 out of 10. Now Rengoku is going to be getting a 9 out of 10 simply because Rengoku, I feel it takes a lot of skill to properly use, because although the nerfs, especially like the third ability and the second ability, are on a global cooldown with each other, which I don't understand that, but they are. The first ability is an iframe push that actually doesn't block break anymore. They removed it. But probably the best part of Rengoku is all of the different modes that you have. Each mode has their own thing that you can use, and if you properly switch between the modes, you can probably destroy some people. Now most people that use Rengoku use only one mode or two modes, but someone that is really skillful at Rengoku specifically could probably use all of them and destroy people like crazy. So I'm going to show you this one. This one is Preta Spirit. It is literally just Renshiki's first ability, and I've used it before. It is very good and very bust, and that is just an example of how much skill is required to use Rengoku. Alright, so next up is going to be Sengoku. I'm going to be giving Sengoku a 6. Now, this is going to be because I feel like Sengoku is not actually very good as a bloodline. And since it's not very good as a bloodline, it does take a bit of skill to actually use properly. I mean, the first ability is just ability that is very hard to aim. It's very hard to hit on people in general. And the best part of it is that it's actually an iframe, which they removed off the global cooldown with the third ability, thankfully. Third ability is actually a very short counter ability, which doesn't even trigger when you're under trees, which also takes skill to not use it underneath trees. Now, the second ability is extremely hard to hit against anyone that is actually going to block against it, but it still is extremely good for combos once you land it, and is probably the most skillless part of Sengoku. The C-Spec is actually not very good. You drop meteors down from the sky. In the second mode, you just do the Q-Spec basically. And the weapon spec of the second mode is literally just the first ability over again. So when it comes to Sengoku, everything is just very aim based besides the second ability. Alright, so next let's go to Renshiki. Renshiki is actually getting an 8. Now Renshiki is going to be getting an 8 simply because I feel like Renshiki actually does take a lot of skill to use properly. When it comes to Renshiki, I feel like Renshiki, the reason why most people don't use it is because it just takes so much skill to use properly. It is unreal. I mean, like with the C-Spec, you have to aim the C-Spec at people. You have to hit them and combo after it. The weapon spec, you actually have to aim at people to hit, even though it's a good ability and a good stun. The first ability, you have to hold it down and time it right to even get your chi back, but it's a very overpowered iframe, by the way, because people don't know how to use it. And the third ability, you have to aim at people. Like, I feel like Renshiki, it definitely takes a lot of skill to use properly, especially with just how Renshiki's built. But if you're extremely good at using Renshiki, you'll probably destroy a lot of people. Next up is going to be Raion Rengoku. Raion Rengoku is going to be getting a 6. Now, this is going to be because the second mode of it is actually does not take any skill required when it comes to Raion Ren. But everything else about Raion Ren does take a lot of skill now, especially the Z-Spec, which is very hard to hit because it's just been nerfed. But the first ability is actually very hard to hit on people unless they're very close to you because of the AoE nerf. And it also does not have M1 prio. Now, the second ability, you have to actually click on someone to use properly, but if you double click, it actually does a lot of damage. It's a trick I used to do. Third ability is actually an ability that doesn't even stun them. It's just kind of a visual genjutsu, and it pretty much, it's just a damage thing. So when it comes to Raion Ren, it takes a lot of skill to use properly besides the second mode. Now, Deva Rengoku is actually going to be at a solid 7 out of 10. Now, I feel like Deva Ren, it takes a lot more skill than the other bloodlines in the game, but when it comes to Deva Ren, the main ability that you're going to be using is actually the third one. It's an instant iframe. You can escape combos with it and stuff like that. It is very, very good, and that's the main ability of Deva that you actually will be using. Besides, obviously, the mode. The mode does not take any skill required to actually hit the C-Spec on people because it just drags people in. Weapon spec's pretty brain dead. It's just a Rengoku pull that's not on any global cooldown, so it's very good overall. The first ability is actually very hard to land on people that are moving around, but the first ability is actually very good if you can land it. Now, the second ability is very hard to aim because it is a very small radius after the AoE nerf. So overall, after the AoE nerf, Deva It's just not the same bloodline it was, and it's going to be at a 7 now. Next is going to be Forge Rengoku. Forge Rengoku is going to be actually at a 4. Now, this is going to be the first one below 5 on this list right now. Now, this is the reason for this is actually because Forge Ren does not take any skill required, pretty much. I mean, the first ability is just kind of a brain dead. It's kind of just a brain dead iframe. When you click, you shoot out like a giant bomb that's auto tracks to people and hits people from like insanely far away because the AoE on it is pretty insane. As you can see, it's like bouncing around over here. Second ability is just a mode drain iframe ability where you can click to actually stun them, and it does drain 1000 mode, which is pretty brain dead, and I'm up in the sky right now. Now the third ability is pretty much just Raion Ren third ability, and then the Z spec is probably the most brain dead thing about Forged Ren. Look at this. Look at all the damage that's coming out right now, and it auto tracks nearly perfectly. It does a ton of damage, and the most brain dead part of Forged Ren is the weapon spec. Auto tracking ability that block breaks does a ton of damage, stuns them. Overall, just a stupid ability, very OP, and you obviously get the buffed M1s as well. Alright, so next up is going to be Shindai Ren. This one's going to be at a 3. Now, this is going to be mainly because of the mode. The mode is just super broken, overpowered when it comes to, like, Shindai Ren. The mode is actually so good that they actually banned it in competitive. I just want to let you guys know that. The mode is so good they banned it in competitive. These throwables are absolutely insane. This weapon spec is an instantaneous Shindai third ability that does a ton of damage and stuns. C-spec is just free clones, basically. And they do attack people when you attack, but they just don't do that much damage. As you guys see, they can only do 2000 a hit. But when it comes to Shindai Ren, the actual abilities of it do require some skill to pull off. I will say that the actual abilities of Shindai Ren do take a lot of skill to pull off. But when it comes to the mode is just so busted that there's no real reason that you would ever say that this takes skill to use, honestly. Next is going to be Bankai Inferno. Now, I feel like Bankai Inferno is at a very broken place right now. They definitely released Bankai Inferno in a very buffed state. I mean, these M1s have such insane range. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the third ability, the fourth M1 actually has probably one of the biggest M1 ranges out of a Z mode in the entire game. I mean, like, look at this. It hits people from there, and it does actually a lot of damage as well. Now, when it comes to Bankai Dokai or Bankai Inferno, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it's at a place where it's very broken right now, so I'm going to give it actually a 4 right now, but it does take a lot of skill to use some of the abilities of Bankai Inferno. Like the first ability, it definitely takes skill to use properly because it's basically just a vanishing clone but buffed. So when it comes to that, it definitely takes a lot of skill to use properly. The second ability is also pretty much just a better Raion Ren third ability, and the third ability is probably the coolest one. It's basically just Bankai's third ability, but it actually stuns them. Now, I gotta say, the most brainless, skillless thing about this is actually the weapon spec, which is just a better Ember Chi Blade, and the Z spec, which just does a ton of damage and it drains their mode. Overall, it's just very broken. So yeah, Bankai Dokai is gonna be at a 4. Anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. More. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.